The Galactic Council had made their decision long ago. The dragon homeworld of Drakthar was off limits. No ships. No visitors. No exceptions. The planet where the universe's first spacefaring civilization once thrived now sat empty and dying. Deep beneath its surface, in a cavern made of crystal, the last dragon was waiting to die. His name was Vraxis the Eternal, though that name felt like a cruel joke now. There was nothing eternal about being the last of your kind. Every breath he took came slower than the one before. His scales, which legend said once shone brighter than stars, had faded to a dull gray. He looked like a statue that time had forgotten. Ben Harper was 12 years old and too curious for his own good. Everyone told him this. His teachers said it. His friends said it. Most of all, his parents said it. David and Emma Harper worked on Mining Station Epsilon 7, a floating chunk of metal and machinery that orbited a resource-rich asteroid field. It was boring work in a boring place, and Ben hated every minute of it. But Mining Station Epsilon 7 had one advantage. It was only 3 jumps away from Drakthar. 3 jumps from the Forbidden Planet. 3 jumps from the last dragon in the universe. Ben had heard the stories his whole life. Dragons were the first species to travel between stars. They built cities on dead moons and brought them to life. They could sing, and when they sang, reality itself would listen. But that was ancient history. Now there was only one left, and he was dying alone on a planet no one could visit. Ben thought that was the saddest thing he had ever heard. So he made a plan. It was not a good plan. It was actually a terrible plan. But Ben was 12, and 12-year-olds are not known for their brilliant planning skills. He waited until his parents were working a double shift. He hacked into the supply drone system using codes he had stolen from a distracted technician. He programmed a drone to make an unscheduled stop on Drakthar. Then he climbed inside the cargo bay and hid behind boxes of mining equipment. The journey took 6 hours. Ben spent most of it terrified that someone would notice the missing drone, or that the council would shoot it down, or that his parents would discover his empty room and ground him until he was 30. But none of those things happened. The drone landed on Drakthar's dusty surface without incident. Ben crawled out of the cargo bay and looked around. The planet was dead. Not dying. Dead. The soil was gray dust. No plants grew anywhere. The sky was a weird purple color that made his eyes hurt. In the distance he could see mountains that looked like broken teeth. He pulled out a scanner he had borrowed from the station. The device beeped and pointed him toward a strong energy signature about 2 miles away. Ben started walking. The cavern entrance was easier to find than he expected. It was a massive hole in the side of a cliff, big enough to fly a ship through. Ben stepped inside and gasped. Crystals. Everywhere. Huge crystals jutted from the floor, the walls, the ceiling. They caught the dim light and split it into colors Ben did not have names for. The crystals hummed softly, making a sound like a song played too far away to hear properly. The whole cavern felt alive, even though everything around it was dead. And in the center of it all was the dragon. Ben had seen pictures. He had watched videos. He had read every description he could find. None of it prepared him for the real thing. Vraxis was enormous. His body was easily as big as a small spacecraft. His wings, folded against his sides, looked like they could block out the sun. His head alone was bigger than Ben's entire family quarters back on the station. But he looked so tired. So old. His breathing made a sound like wind through empty buildings. His eyes were closed. Ben thought he might already be dead. Then one eye opened. It was huge and golden and fixed directly on Ben. "You are human," the dragon said. His voice did not come from his mouth. It came from everywhere at once. Ben felt it in his chest, in his bones, in his teeth. The young species. The singers. Ben's mouth was dry. His heart hammered against his ribs. He had broken about 50 laws to get here. He could start an interstellar incident. His parents would kill him. But he had made it. He was standing in front of the last dragon in the universe. "I'm Ben," he managed to say. His voice sounded tiny in the vast cavern. "I came to meet you. Before you were gone." "Gone?" Vraxis repeated. The word sounded heavy, like a door closing. "Yes, I am fading. The resonance dies with me. The old harmonics grow silent." Ben stepped closer. He should have been terrified. The dragon could swallow him in one bite. But he was not scared. He just felt sad. Sad that something so magnificent was dying alone. "Is there anything I can do?" Ben asked. "Anything that might help?" The dragon's golden eyes studied him for a long moment. Then Vraxis asked a question that would change everything. "Tell me, young Ben, can your kind still sing?" Ben sat on the crystal floor and listened to the dragon talk. Vraxis spoke slowly, taking long pauses between sentences to catch his breath. But what he said made Ben's mind spin. Dragons did not die like other species. They were connected to the universe in a way that was hard to explain. Their bodies would eventually fail, yes, but their consciousness could continue. All it required was a specific song. A pattern of sounds at exact frequencies that would let their minds merge with the cosmic background radiation of space itself. They would become part of the universe forever. It is called the Song of Passing, Vraxis explained. Every dragon learns it as a child. When our bodies grow old, we sing the song and transcend physical form. We become eternal. That sounds beautiful, Ben said. So why don't you sing it? Because 3,000 years ago the Galactic Council made it illegal. The dragon's voice grew bitter. They called it a reality warping hazard. They said the song was too dangerous to exist. They claimed that the last time it was sung, an entire star system collapsed. Billions died. Ben felt his stomach drop. Did that really happen? No. Vraxis's eye gleamed with something like anger. That is the lie they tell. The truth is that the song created a new star system. Born from pure harmony. A place where 3 dead worlds came to life. But the Council could not control this power. They could not regulate it. They could not tax it or weaponize it or claim authority over it. So they made it illegal and spread lies about its danger. But why would they do that? Fear, Vraxis said simply. The Council rules through laws and weapons and economic control. But the song proves that there are forces beyond their authority. Harmony can reshape reality. Beauty can create worlds. They cannot allow people to know this. Ben thought about this. He had grown up believing the Council was good. They kept peace in the galaxy. They protected smaller species from stronger ones. They made sure everyone followed the same rules. But what if some of those rules were wrong? So you're dying because you can't sing this song? Ben asked. I am dying because no one can sing it anymore. The Council hunted down every recording. They destroyed every written version. Any species caught attempting the song faces immediate exile. 3 civilizations were wiped out for defying this law. Vraxis closed his eye. I am the last dragon. I know the song perfectly. But I cannot sing it alone. The song requires multiple voices across multiple frequencies. One dragon cannot produce all the necessary harmonics. What about machines? Could a computer generate the right sounds? Many have tried. The Council itself tried in secret, hoping to control the power. But machines cannot replicate the song. It requires something organic. Something alive. The frequencies must come from a living throat, powered by breath and will and consciousness. No synthesizer has ever succeeded. Ben felt hope draining away. If the most advanced technology in the galaxy could not help, what chance did he have? Then Vraxis opened his eye again and looked directly at Ben. But there is one possibility. One species that might possess the capability. Which one? Yours. Ben blinked. Humans? But we're the newest species in the galaxy. Everyone says we're primitive. Half the Council members wanted to deny us exploration rights. Yes, Vraxis said. You're young. Only 500 years in space. The Council considers you barely civilized. The dragon made a sound that might have been a laugh. But I have studied your kind. I have listened to your transmissions. Your music. Your songs. Your vocal cords evolved in ways unique in this galaxy. You spent millions of years on an isolated planet making sounds for pleasure. For emotion. For art. Your throats can produce frequencies that even our best synthesizers cannot match. Ben touched his throat instinctively. Really? Human vocal cords can bend sound in impossible ways. You can sing between notes. You can create harmonics that fold into themselves. This is because your evolution prioritized communication and emotional expression over pure efficiency. You are the only species I know of that might be able to produce the frequencies required for the song. Vraxis began to hum. The sound started deep and low, then climbed higher and higher until Ben could barely hear it. The crystals around them began to glow. The light pulsed in time with the dragon's voice. This is the first phrase, Vraxis said. 12 notes. Try to match it. Ben tried. His first attempt was terrible. The notes cracked and wavered. But on his second try something happened. One of the crystals near his feet blazed with bright white light. The light held for 3 seconds then faded. Vraxis made that laughing sound again. You have the gift. I knew it. Humans can sing the song. Ben felt excitement rise in his chest. Then he felt fear. But you said it's illegal. If I do this, what happens to Earth? To my species? The Council could exile humanity. Forbid you from leaving your solar system. Quarantine Earth for centuries. Vraxus's voice was sad but honest. You could save one dragon and doom your entire species to isolation. Ben looked at his hands. They were shaking. This was too big. He was just a kid. How could he make a decision that affected billions of people? I need time to think, he whispered. I have waited 300 years, Vraxus said. I can wait a little longer. But not much longer, young Ben. Not much longer. Ben spent 2 days in the crystal cavern learning the song. He slept on the floor wrapped in his jacket. He drank water from his canteen. He ate protein bars from his backpack. And between all of that, he practiced. Vraxus taught him phrase by phrase. Each section of the song was more complex than the last. Some notes felt natural to Ben's voice. Others felt impossible, like trying to sing underwater or through solid rock. But slowly, painfully, he began to understand the patterns. His throat learned to bend sounds in ways he had never imagined. The crystals responded to his practice. When he got a phrase right, they would pulse with light. When he made mistakes, they would dim. It was like the cavern itself was encouraging him. But Ben still had not decided what to do. Save a dragon and risk his entire species? Let Vraxus die and live with the guilt forever? There was no good answer. On the third morning, his stolen scanner started screaming. Ben grabbed it and stared at the screen. 5 dots appeared in orbit above the planet. Ships. Big ones. Military-class vessels. They had just dropped out of faster-than-light travel directly overhead. They know, Vraxus said quietly. His voice was weak again. Teaching the song had drained what little energy he had left. The Council always knows when someone approaches the song. They have sensors scattered across the galaxy, listening for the specific frequencies. What do I do? Ben's hands shook as he watched the dots on the screen descend toward the surface. That depends on what you have decided, young Ben. But there was no time to answer. The cavern entrance darkened as ships blocked out the purple sky. Heavy footsteps echoed off the crystal walls. Ben stood up and faced the entrance, his heart pounding so hard it hurt. 6 figures entered the cavern. They wore Council enforcement armor and carried weapons that hummed with barely contained energy. Behind them walked a 7th figure, taller and more commanding. He wore robes that shimmered like oil on water. His skin had a faint blue tint. His eyes were pure silver and showed no emotion at all. Human child, the figure announced. His voice filled the entire cavern. I am Ambassador Theron of the Council Preservation Fleet. You are in violation of Preservation Law, Article 7. Step away from the dragon immediately. Ben did not move. His legs felt like they had turned to stone. Theron walked closer, his silver eyes studying Ben. Do you understand the severity of your crime? You have entered a forbidden zone. You have made contact with a protected extinction event. And most seriously, you have been learning the dragon song. How did you know? Ben asked. We monitor all dragon worlds for the song's specific frequencies. The moment you began practicing, our sensors detected it. Theron gestured and a hologram appeared in the air between them. It showed a beautiful star system with 3 planets orbiting a yellow sun. This is System 749. Population in the year 1247. 4 billion. Observe what happened when the dragon song was last performed there. The hologram changed. The star turned red. The planets broke apart like eggs. Ships tried to escape but were caught in the gravitational chaos. Everything was destroyed. The hologram went dark. 4 billion dead, Theron said. Because someone thought they knew better than the Council. Because someone decided that one dragon's life was worth more than entire civilizations. Ben felt sick. He looked at Vraxus, whose eyes were closed. He told me that was a lie. He said the song created a system, not destroyed one. The dragon is deceiving you. These are Council historical records. Verified by 17 independent investigations. Theron's voice was hard. The song warps reality. It tears holes in dimensional barriers. It destabilizes the fabric of space itself. This is why it must never be sung again. One of the guards activated a device on his wrist. A shimmering field appeared around the cavern, cutting it off from the outside. They were sealing him in. You will return with us to Epsilon 7, Theron continued. Your parents will be notified. Earth will be placed under Level 5 observation. No human will be permitted to leave your solar system without Council escort for the next 100 years. 100 years? Ben felt like he had been punched in the stomach. You trapped my entire species because of what I did? I will save your entire species from the consequences of your foolishness. Theron pulled out a weapon and aimed it at Ben's chest. Now step away from the dragon. Final warning. Ben looked at the weapon. He looked at Theron's cold silver eyes. He looked at the guards surrounding him. Then he looked at Vraxis, who had opened one golden eye and was watching him quietly. The dragon said nothing. He did not beg or plead. He simply looked at Ben with an expression that seemed to say, "The choice is yours and yours alone." Ben thought about his parents. He thought about Earth. He thought about humanity being trapped in its own solar system for a century. He thought about every human child who would grow up unable to explore the stars because of him. Then he thought about Vraxis dying alone in this crystal cavern. The last dragon in the universe, fading into nothing because fear was stronger than compassion. He thought about what kind of galaxy he wanted to live in. One ruled by fear and control? Or one where beauty and harmony mattered? Ben closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Then he began to sing. The first note came from somewhere deep in Ben's chest. It should not have been possible. No 12-year-old boy should be able to make a sound that low, that resonant, that filled with power. But Ben did. The sound was not loud. It was something else. It was everywhere at once. The crystals did not just glow. They sang back. They added layers to Ben's voice that built and built until the air itself seemed to vibrate. "Stop him!" Theron shouted. His voice cracked with panic. The guards raised their weapons and fired. Sonic disruptors unleashed waves of destructive sound meant to knock Ben unconscious. But something impossible happened. The song absorbed every blast. It took the chaotic noise and wove it into harmony. The weapons did not stop the song. They became part of it. Ben moved to the second phrase. He felt the notes travel through his body like electricity. His bones hummed. His blood pulsed in time with the rhythm. The temperature in the cavern dropped 20 degrees in 3 seconds. Frost formed on the crystals, but the frost glowed from within. Behind him, Vraxis stirred. The dragon's eyes opened wide. Both of them now, blazing with golden light. His scales began to change color, shifting from dull gray to bright silver. Then from silver to brilliant gold. Light poured from him like he was made of captured stars. The containment field that the guards had activated flickered wildly. Sparks flew from the devices on their wrists. One by one the fields collapsed. Nothing technological could withstand what was happening. The song was rewriting the rules of reality in the cavern. Ben reached the third movement. His voice climbed higher and higher. He sang notes that should not exist, frequencies between frequencies. The stars visible through gaps in the crystal ceiling began to move. They danced in patterns, responding to the harmonics rippling outward from the planet. Then the ghosts arrived. They appeared as shapes made of light. Translucent and glowing. Dragons. Hundreds of them. They materialized throughout the cavern, their forms see-through but present. Their eyes were open. Their mouths moved. And they began to sing with Ben. The combined voices of one human boy and hundreds of dragon spirits created something the universe had not heard in 3,000 years. The true song of passing. Not a song of death at all. A song of transformation. A song about consciousness and energy becoming one. Theron fell to his knees. His silver eyes were wide with shock. "No," he whispered. "This is impossible. The dragons are extinct. They're gone. There." But they were not gone. They had been waiting. Held in a state between existence and non-existence, scattered across the cosmic background radiation. Waiting for someone to sing them home. Vraxis rose to his full height. His wings spread wide, filling half the cavern. He lifted his head and roared. The sound mixed with Ben's song and the chorus of spectral dragons. The roar shook the planet to its core. Outside the cavern things were changing. The gray dead soil turned brown then green. Plants that had been dormant for millennia burst through the surface. Ancient oceans that had dried up began to fill with water. The whole planet was healing, brought back to life by pure harmonic resonance. The guards dropped their weapons and ran. They scrambled out of the cavern in terror, leaving Theron alone with Ben and the dragons. Ben sang the fourth movement. His throat was raw. His voice cracked. But he pushed through. The spectral dragons were becoming more solid with every note. They were being pulled from wherever they had scattered, reformed by the song's power. Then Ben's scanner exploded. Not from malfunction. From what it detected. In orbit above the planet, shapes were appearing. Ships. Dozens of them. Sleek vessels with dragon designs etched into their hulls. They shimmered into visibility as their cloaking systems deactivated. They had been there all along. Hidden. Waiting. Theron stared at his communication device as it lit up with panicked messages from orbit. His hands shook. "The dragon fleet," he breathed. "The council said it was destroyed. They said every ship was dismantled 300 years ago. They lied. They lied to all of us. Vraxis turned his massive head toward the ambassador. When he spoke, his voice was no longer weak. It thundered with power. We were never extinct, Theron. We were waiting. Waiting for the one species that could sing us back. The council claimed they destroyed our fleet, but they only made us hide it. They claimed they killed the last dragons, but they only scattered our consciousness. They thought they had won. They were wrong. Ben sang the final phrase. The last 12 notes of the song. His vision blurred with tears. His legs trembled. But he held the notes steady and true. The spectral dragons fully materialized. 50 of them now stood solid and real in the cavern, their scales gleaming with every color imaginable. They looked at Ben with eyes full of gratitude and wonder. The planet beneath their feet hummed with life. Across the galaxy, other forbidden worlds began to wake up. The song was propagating through subspace, traveling faster than light. It reached other sealed planets, other hidden places where the Council had buried its secrets. Theron's device screamed with alerts. Council worlds reporting unusual activity. Suppressed species suddenly finding their voices. Rebellions breaking out on 17 planets at once. The carefully maintained order was falling apart. Ben's voice finally gave out. He stopped singing and collapsed. His whole body shook. He had never been so exhausted in his life. But he had done it. He had sung the song complete. Vraxis caught him gently with one massive claw before he hit the ground. Rest, young Ben Harper. You have changed the universe today. When Ben woke up, he was lying on soft grass. Real grass. Green and alive. He sat up slowly and looked around. The crystal cavern was behind him, but now its entrance was surrounded by trees. Small flowers grew between the rocks. The purple sky had turned blue. Drakthar was alive again. Vraxis stood nearby, talking with the other dragons who had materialized. 50 magnificent creatures in every color imaginable. They spoke in low rumbles that made the ground vibrate gently. When they saw Ben was awake, they all turned to look at him. Ben felt very small under their gaze. Ambassador Theron sat on a rock with his head in his hands. His silver eyes were red as if he had been crying. His communication device lay broken at his feet. The council is fracturing, Theron said quietly. 3 worlds declared independence an hour ago. 2 more civilizations that we suppressed for centuries have risen up. The lies are exposed. Everything is falling apart. Not falling apart, Vraxis corrected. Transforming. There is a difference. Theron looked up at the dragon. You knew this would happen. You planned it. I hoped for it. I could not plan it. Only a human could sing the song. I had to wait for the right one to find me. Vraxis looked at Ben with warmth in his golden eyes. I waited 300 years. It was worth it. Ben's throat hurt terribly. He tried to speak but could only whisper. What happens now? Theron stood up slowly. He looked older somehow, as if the last few hours had aged him decades. I need to tell you the truth. The real truth. Not the Council's version. Over the next hour, Theron confessed everything. The Council had not just forbidden the song. They had actively tried to destroy the dragons. It took centuries. They poisoned the cosmic frequencies that dragons depended on, making it harder and harder for them to survive. They hunted down anyone who knew the song and erased all records of it. They made examples of 3 civilizations that defied them. The reason was simple. Dragons could reshape reality through harmony. They represented a power that the Council could not control. The Council's entire authority was built on being the strongest force in the galaxy. But strength meant nothing against beings who could create worlds by singing. So the Council eliminated them. Slowly. Quietly. They made it look natural. They made it look like dragons were simply dying out. And they left Vraxis alive as a warning. A symbol of what happened to species that grew too powerful. I did not know, Theron said, his voice shaking. Most current Council members do not know. This was done by our predecessors thousands of years ago. But ignorance is not innocence. We maintain their lies. We enforce their laws. We are guilty. Ben listened to all of this and felt anger rise in his chest. You tried to make me think I was the bad guy. You showed me that fake hologram of a destroyed system. You were going to trap humanity for 100 years. I believed it was true, Theron said. I believed the song was dangerous. I believed I was protecting the galaxy. He looked at Ben with genuine pain in his silver eyes. I was wrong. Witnessing the song showed me what it really is. Not destruction. Creation. Not chaos. Harmony. I spent my whole life serving a lie. Vraxis approached them both. The question now is what we build from these ruins. The old order is broken. What comes next? The answer came together over the following days. Dragons, humans, and even some reformed council members worked to create something new. They called it the Harmonic Concordat. The rules were simple. Every species would share what they knew best. Humans would teach music, art, and emotional expression. The frequencies of feeling that Earth had developed over millions of years. Dragons would teach cosmic harmony and reality shaping, but carefully with safeguards. Even the council's remnants would contribute their knowledge of organization and peacekeeping. But no species would ever be silenced again. No song would be forbidden. No power would be suppressed out of fear. Ben Harper became the first Harmonic Guardian. Not because he was special or powerful, but because he had acted from compassion when others acted from fear. His job was not to enforce rules but to make sure every voice could be heard. 50 other guardians were chosen from 50 different species, all committed to the same goal. 2 months later, Ben returned to mining station Epsilon 7. His parents met him at the airlock. His mother Emma hugged him so tight he could barely breathe. His father David just kept saying, "What were you thinking?" over and over, but he was smiling through his tears. The council granted humanity full exploration rights. Earth was not just recognized now. It was celebrated. The species that reminded the galaxy how to sing. Ben got grounded for 6 months, though everyone knew it would not stick. His friends asked endless questions about dragons and the song. Teachers wanted him to speak at assemblies. Scientists wanted to study his vocal cords. But mostly Ben just wanted to be a normal kid again. One evening he stood alone on the station's observation deck. He looked out at the stars and thought about everything that had changed. Dragons flew free again. Suppressed civilizations were finding their voices. The galaxy was learning to sing together instead of marching in lockstep. He hummed quietly. Just the first few notes of the song. Not enough to reshape anything. Just enough to remember. The stars seemed to shimmer in response. Somewhere far away across the vast emptiness of space, Vraxis heard that small sound and smiled. The boy had learned the most important lesson. That connection was stronger than control. That harmony was more powerful than force. That one voice singing for compassion could change everything. The universe was singing again. And this time no one would silence it.